If you're anything like me, your feed's probably been filled with videos of the newest Nintendo released. The Legend of Zelda TOTK. Torture of the Koroks. Well, it's Tears of the Kingdom, but the videos online make it seem like the former. This game is a masterpiece. Not just because it turns the Geneva Convention into a checklist, but because it is the quintessential open world game. It has managed to improve on Breath of the Wild in numerous ways. A game I thought was perfect. Before I start talking about the game, I'd like to warn of spoilers. I will be talking about the game's mechanics and locations, and some story, but not any major story beats, and I'll be very vague about it, but be warned. And while we're giving our spoiler-afraid friends time to click off or whatever, I'd like to remind you to subscribe. I'm a small channel, so anything really helps. I'm really small. Like I'm tiny. Please. I have 160 subscribers as I'm recording this. Please subscribe. I'm not begging you, but I'm begging you. If you subscribe, I'll give you a Korok seed. Just saying. Korok seed. Pretty worth it. And now, on to the video. First, we should cover Breath of the Wild. It's the first Switch Zelda. It was a launch title, and it had a huge impact on open world gaming. This game has been long awaited. So long awaited, it was called Zelda for Wii U for the longest time. This game is... Wait, has it been long enough? Okay, I think it has. This game is fucking awesome. This game released a crazy acclaim from journalists and even crazier acclaim from fans. The game was a perfect open world. I mean, you could fight Ganondorf right after the tutorial area. Look at the speedruns. It's crazy. These people launching themselves with logs and stasis. It's fucking awesome. I mean, I don't know how else to describe the game, but amazing. I can't find the words for it. It was perfect. There was maybe one tiny downside, and it was weapon durability. It was pretty low, but there were weapons everywhere. Of all things, that being it, that's crazy. All of this game, and one tiny downside. I checked on my Switch, 157 hours in this game. A good few. It's pretty damn good. I'm gonna hope you guys have played it if you're clicking on this video, and also because there's no substitute for it. There's no way to describe the experience you have in this game. It's crazy. I mean, I tried. I just spent 45 seconds trying to explain it, but it's, as you can tell, it's kind of difficult. Maybe a better YouTuber than me could, but, I think it's good enough. Just go play the game. It's good. Well, actually, watch the video. Then you can play the game. So, was Nintendo able to make a follow-up game to Breath of the Wild that held up? Obviously, from the title of this video, yes. It's an outstanding yes. I'm going to split this up into 3 categories. World, gameplay, and story. Again, I'll try to keep the story segment vague, but if you're worried, I'll give another spoiler warning before I start talking about it. First, we have... The world, at first glance, might seem like it hasn't changed since Breath of the Wild. But it has. No matter what the detractors say, it has changed. On a surface level, these two maps look very similar. But once you're on the ground and see just how much the world has changed, you'll get it. Hyrule has started to rebuild on the surface. There's new little settlements, little areas everywhere, there's building materials, it's super neat. But the real way the world has changed is just below the surface, and above as well. Hyrule's expanded incredibly on its Z-axis, adding literally a whole new dimension to this world. Tears of the Kingdom has introduced 2 new areas, the Sky Islands, as seen in the trailers, and the depths are not found in the trailers, but they are found deep underneath the surface of Hyrule. Similar to where Link and Zelda find Mummy Ganon, which is in the trailers. This area is accessed through chasms throughout Hyrule, many of which are in former shrine locations, which I thought was neat. On the Great Plateau, at least. I haven't checked if the other ones are, but they are on the Great Plateau, so that's all that matters. The areas are pretty easy to spot if you've mapped out that part of the map, because they have a bright red outline. But why do they have a bright red outline? What is that? Well, it is Blight. Blight is a map hazard that not only hurts Link, but lowers his maximum amount of hearts. It sucks ass, but for gameplay reasons. This stuff fills the depths, along with some parts of the surface. And in the depths, all the enemies are covered in this stuff, meaning that if they damage you, it's blight damage. This bloody red gunk is a pretty neat mechanic. It's also kind of cheap sometimes. It was very annoying, because the only way to heal it was certain foods you had to cook. And those foods were sometimes pretty annoying to get enough of, because if you wanted them to heal the hearts and you wanted them to heal the blight, not really. You'd have to have one that would heal a bunch of hearts from blight, and then you have to have another item to actually heal those hearts back. But, I mean, once you find good places to get food, to get things like hardy truffles, or get things like Sundelions, or the item that lets you clear blight, it works a lot better. I was annoyed by it, but it serves a really cool narrative purpose. It shows the corruption Ganon has spread through Hyrule, and it's also used to highlight areas of importance. If you see a lot of blight, it'll normally indicate tough enemies, but also really cool rewards. There's something else noticeable about the depths too. Loot. This is where most of Breath of the Wild's DLC outfits come back. Things like the Majora's Mask, or the Wind Tunic, that kind of stuff. These items are hidden in chests throughout the depths. Most are hidden very, very well, actually. How do you know where to look, then, if they're hidden so well? The answer is old maps, which will provide you with an X on the spot in your in-game map. Now, where do you find those maps? Well, you find them in... The Sky Islands are, as you can guess, islands in the sky. These areas are where you find old Zonai ruins, which I should probably explain what the Zonai are. The Zonai are like the ancient god kind of people. Yeah, one of them may or may not have founded Hyrule. They're furries. The first queen of Hyrule was a furry. Anyway, you will find old Zonai ruins and artifacts, as well as this being the area Link wakes up in at the start of the game. This area is not as sprawling as the surface or the depths, but it is probably my favorite part of Hyrule. Some of the most interesting puzzles and objects are found up here, including, but not limited to, Big Fish, the Death Star, a Rubik's Cube, and a fucking Hydra. You'd think these islands would be the main new content in the game, since, you know, they're all over the trailers and the cover and everything. They kind of are. But there's not a lot of content. I mean, there is a lot of content. There's a good amount of shrines and stuff like that. But it's very spread out. And you might be wondering, how do you reach all of these spread out islands? It's not like you can fly. Or is it? You can fly.
Oh, they fly now! They fly now?
Okay, you can fly, kind of. Through the use of Zonai devices, you can do just about anything. These devices are what you see being used to torture Koroks on social media. There are flamethrowers and paper airplanes and bombs and fans and rockets and a random cookpot. To combine these devices into something useful, you use one of the new abilities they added, Ultra Hand. Ultra Hand is what you'll be using to solve most puzzles, and also, it's just magnesis on crack. It's basically magnesis movements, but for almost any item in the world. And it lets you glue them together with Link's sticky green goo. Arm goo. It doesn't matter. Besides, it's not just disgusting. It's got a lot of uses. You can probably guess what you could do with being able to combine and glue together almost any item in the world, all of this different stuff. That's right. You can make a penis. And also war crimes. Zonai devices aren't just used for death machines and puzzles, though. They can also be added to weapons with the next ability, Fuse. Fuse does two amazing things at once. First, remember how I said the one downside with Breath of the Wild was durability? Well, fusing items to weapons increases their durability. The second thing it does is make everything a weapon. Stick, weapon. Bokoblin horn, weapon. Meat, perfect for an arrow. Random rock, weapon. Link's cock, only for Zelda. Well, maybe Sidon too. Sidon's kinda hot. Anyway, this one feature expands the combat so much. It expands it tenfold. Now things like dragon horns are more than just to sell or upgrade armor. They're used to give weapons higher damage and even elemental effects. The new 4th dragon, not gonna go too much into it because, there's story reasons. It's a light dragon, and its new effects let you heal when you damage enemies. I didn't know that. I didn't use that in my playthrough. The dragon takes like almost 2 hours to cross the map, so it's super hard to find. But I heard about it in a YouTube short. Not even good enough for TikTok, ladies and gentlemen. YouTube short. Why do you need to fuse weapons, though? Well, because Blight not only got rid of your hearts and covered the land with weird, bloody cum, it also rusted the fuck out of everything. All weapons are now ruined. They have lower damage and slightly lower durability, because it was already pretty low from Breath of the Wild. But there are a few ways around that. Besides fusing them for more durability and more damage, there are Octoroks in the Goron Kingdom, which will suck them up and improve them. And there's also a secret in the depths. I won't spoil it. They're semi-easy to find, but let's just say don't ignore any statues you find. The last really useful ability is Rewind.
Yeah, it's rewind time.
Yeah, you can just time travel. Well, more accurately make other things time travel, but it's pretty damn cool. When combined with Ultra Hand, you can really mess with the physics. Personally, I mostly just used it to grab my air bike when it inevitably fell off a sky island. This ability is cool and really useful for things like traversal and puzzles, and when you accidentally drop your flying machine off the edge of a sky island. But I'm gonna be honest, it's kind of boring. It's really cool, it's really neat. I used it a good amount, but it wasn't as fun and creative as, fusing a piece of meat to an arrow, or putting a bomb on my shield so I could bomb jump, or making a penis out of a tree and 2 boulders, The last new abilities are more boring. There's Map. Oh boy, so useful if your minus button is broken, I guess. And there's also Ascend, which is more useful, but kind of boring and all. Ascend lets you, ascend. You can travel through whatever object is above you and come out on the surface, whether it being the ceiling of some crack shack you found or a whole-ass cave. It's basically just hacks. I mean, the devs even admitted it started out as an exploit they used for testing. And the last new ability is not boring, actually, but I saved it for last because I'm not going to mention it. It's found near the Great Plateau. That's all I'll say. It's very useful, but I don't want to spoil it. It's pretty fun. Then there's Camera and Amiibo, which return, but nobody gives a shit about them. I'm sorry, no one cares about Amiibo except for Amiibo costumes. If you're somebody who buys the Amiibos, I don't. So I just got the ones I did end up getting from the depths. And the camera is fucking boring. I never use the camera in these games, at all. Now, for the last segment, here's your last chance to back out. This segment will be very brief and very vague, but you can still back out if you're worried about spoilers. And the biggest thing I can say about this story is it actually exists this time. There are 4 dungeons, not shitty divine beasts, 4 actual classic dungeons, and the story keeps going after that. It's not just immediately to Ganon. There's more stuff. There's some twists I didn't expect, I'm gonna be honest. And it's pretty good. There's a whole quest line to find the Master Sword that's also around there, because in the opening, it's ruined by Ganon, and then you lose it at the end of the tutorial area, so you don't even have the ruined version anymore. And you kind of find out about what's happening with the Master Sword and other things in the past by going to these things around the kingdom. Yeah, so in the kingdom, there are Tears of the Dragon. TM. Very different from the Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah. These are where you find memories of what happened in the past to find out about Ganon's origin, which is pretty neat. But my favorite part, honestly, is just finding them and the presentation of it. They're found in geoglyphs. These are sprawling, drawings of objects that are important to the game, things like the Master Sword or Ganon and that kind of stuff. They're super fun. My favorite part is just to be gliding around Hyrule and just look over and see, like, you know, the Master Sword, like I mentioned, or whatever else. Some geoglyph in the distance. It really makes the story feel more present, and it makes the world feel more unique from the last map. That's about all I want to cover for the story, because, you know, the game came out 2 weeks ago, and I don't want to spoil it. So, now, we can move on to my... In all, this game rocks. It's not just a DLC to Breath of the Wild, as some people keep saying. It's a whole new game. It's a whole new experience. There's so much more to explore and so many ways to do it. The freedom is unmatched by any other game, besides maybe survival games like Minecraft, but how the fuck do you beat Minecraft? I mean, Hatsune Miku did amazing on that game. This game is also amazing, though, even if it wasn't made by Hatsune Miku. I mean, you need to play it if you haven't yet. It somehow manages to improve on the formula in Breath of the Wild, one of my favorite games of all time, and a game I thought was perfect. And now this game topped it. It's a new favorite of mine and probably going to replace Breath of the Wild in my top 10 list. And I plan to come back to this world again and again. The only downside to this new game is no weird motorcycle. That was the best part of the DLC for Breath of the Wild. I just love being on the motorcycle. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please leave a like and feel free to comment, subscribe, please. Please. I'm begging. Please. I know these videos of mine don't always have much of a schedule, but well, senior year was a bit busy and, you know, I have a girlfriend. That's like more important than nerdy YouTube shit. Anyway, thank you for watching and I'll see you guys next time.